you obviously want to always exist in black and white and stay away from the black and only go into the white. But the gray is where a lot of companies lie, and it's having the integrity, I think, to help people realize, well, that's black, that's white, and this is gray, and we can make it work if you do X, Y, and Z.
So joining me on the call today, I've got Evan Widmonte from Rimon Advisory. Welcome to the call, Evan.
Thank you, David. Good to be here.
Tell me a little bit about what Rimon Advisory actually does.
Good question. So Rimon Advisory, we are experts in government funding, government grants.
Mm-hmm.
Two particular grants that we focus on, the R&D tax incentive and the E53 export market development grant.
Great. So you've told me what they are, but maybe tell me about who they're applicable to.
Okay, that's a good question. So obviously companies based in Australia.
Yes.
And the companies generally have to be focusing on one of two things, either developing innovative products.
Mm-hmm.
That's generally where the R&D focuses on. So claiming back, funds spent on developing something which is a little bit different to your competitors, involved, some level of something complex that you're building. And that could be in the technology space, that could be in a physical product, that could be in, fashion, it could be on almost food technology in almost any industry.
Yeah.
That's the R&D tax incentive.
Mm-hmm.
And the export market development grant has a completely different focus. That's focusing on any product or service. It's Australian designed, and that you're marketing it overseas. So it helps you get back funds spent on marketing and selling that product overseas.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, with the first grant that you talked about, anyone who's innovating within their business, so it might be someone who's decided to go online because of COVID. Would that count as
Good question. It really depends on, like I said, you're right, that is an innovation, but sometimes that doesn't really involve any complexity. So if it's just building a very simple website, so that generally would not be R&D. But if you're doing something within that website or that platform that ticks certain boxes, like there's, for example, an uncertain outcome, right? So let's say you want to build something, but it's not clear exactly how to do it, and you've got a competent developer or whatever, engineer or whatever you're doing in a particular industry, and you say, listen, can you do this? And their answer is, yes, it's easy. This is how you do it. Generally a good indication there's no R&D there.
Gotcha.
If their answer is somewhere along the lines of, listen, this is really complex. I've been in the industry for a long time. Not exactly sure how we're going to do this. I think I can, but it's going to take a little bit of experimentation from my side.
I understand.
That's more where you're in the field of R&D.
Right. Okay. So it's really that sort of innovation that's outside of the norm. So it's not a progression into a market that exists. It's developing either a product or a delivery mechanism or something that is unique.
Spot on. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And with the export one, another interesting phenomenon, I suppose, COVID's really forced everyone to go online and become global without even thinking about it. Does that then fall under the channel of the export grant?
So 100%. They've been, Austrade is the government body that runs this one. So they've been great, I think, in terms of changing it up, that you can actually claim all those online advertising costs. There's around 8 categories you can claim for that 50% back in terms of the marketing. So things like PR, things like marketing consultants that are helping you with your Facebook or your Google or your Instagram or LinkedIn marketing. Right. Things like, if you're still flying overseas, we hopefully we can do that now. Flying overseas to trade shows, or things like IP, intellectual property. Yep. So your trademarks or patents that are focusing on overseas markets, all of those types of things are claimable.
Fantastic. So these grants aren't new though, are they? They've been around for a while.
They've been around, a long time.
So what makes Rimon stand out from the other people out there that are sort of claiming they can get these grants for you?
Oh, well, of course we're the best. No.
Of course you
are. We are good at what we do. We're great at what we do. I think 2 things. Number one, our team is quite spectacular in terms of hand-holding. So, each of these grants have their own requirements.
Yeah.
We're very big into, we'll do the work and you run your business. So the grants can be quite heavy in terms of time. But for example, R&D has a particular deliverable of a technical report. They can be quite complex. So we do a series, 2 workshops with our clients, and we actually extract that information from them, and we do the write-up of that particular report, for example.
Yeah.
And for EMDG, the Export Market Development Grant, I'm going to use a scary word, but it's not so scary. There's an audit generally before you can get your money. So,
Yeah.
you know, we won't just, you know, put in the claim and then let you deal with the audit. So we will work with you all the way to the end, you know, where we basically make sure you've gotten through the audit. We run that audit process with you. We help, you know, train you, give some training of, you know, what it's going to be like, so you don't freak out. It's not as scary as it sounds. And that you know, I think that personal touch is where we kind of stand out.
And my understanding is that you charge after the grant has been approved.
Generally, it's on a success fee. Yeah. So,
Okay.
so you know that the clients will have an added level of surety. We don't want to take them on as clients if they're not going to get back the funds, because it wastes their time and our time.
Right.
And so it's a I think a good win-win model for everyone involved.
So what made you go into this business?
Well, what made me go into this business? So yeah, it's a good question. So I actually spent a lot of my time initially living in Israel. I was in the tech world there. I worked for a family office doing a lot of different type. I did something called a CFA. So I was actually analyzing different companies, and then from there, when I came to Australia, originally South African, my wife and I are South African, so we didn't want to set up shop in South Africa for obvious reasons, which I won't go into. Not the safest place necessarily. So we picked Australia. And when I came here, so actually 2 friends from school were basically starting a business. One of them was an accountant, ex-CA. I was a CFA. The other one was a software engineer, PhD in blockchain now. So we had interesting skill sets, and we came together. All of those different disciplines kind of match to make, you know, the grant has a financial side, a technical side, you know. And one of the things that we've done through especially through the R&D tax incentive, you get to see a lot of innovation in that industry and a lot of interesting companies. So we started a seed fund, like a VC fund called Rimon Investments, and we've now got a portfolio, and we've invested in a number of companies, like early stage startups, pre-revenue, and the R&D is kind of our way of getting in and seeing the inner workings of those companies.
Clever.
So that's the other side of the business, which I didn't really mention at the beginning, but that's kind of where my skill set lends itself, you know, to getting involved in this company.
Yeah, fantastic. So tell me, how long have you been running this business for?
It's about 8 years now. So it's been around 8 years. It started in Sydney.
Yes.
That's where we were based initially, in the city, and then from there we moved on. So we are now, I mean, I've left Sydney to start up the Melbourne office, which I've been here about 5 years now. That's really grown, and you know, we're now in Brisbane, Perth, pretty much all over Auckland, you know, all over the country.
Yeah, fantastic. Let me ask you a more general question. You've been in business for a while. What's the best piece of business advice you've ever received?
For me, I don't know, best received. Probably. What I've seen in terms of, you know, our business and what's helped us grow is just honesty, being honest about what we can, what we're good at, what we're not good at, not taking on clients that are, you know, flashy, but, you know, gonna just might be doing the wrong thing. I think a big part of our business is integrity, but also pushing the line where, you know, that balance. I think maybe it's the balance which I'm attracted to. You know, you obviously want to always exist in black and white and stay away from the black and only go into the white. But the gray is where a lot of companies lie, and it's having the integrity, I think, to help people realize, well, that's black, that's white, and this is gray, and we can make it work if you do X, Y, and Z. And I think that's where, you know, throughout our company, that's where we've really grown, is because that is how we run things in our business.
Fantastic, brilliant. Let me ask you, just in terms of education and study, is there any business book or podcast or influence in your life that you would consider significant?
So yeah, I think I love personally. I enjoy Malcolm Gladwell.
Yes.
So, you know, he's got a new book about strangers, really interesting, just how you engage with people and the assumptions you make about them. So
Mhm.
I found, if I'm being honest, for me, I would say that my growth in business is really growth through my personal development, really, is where I put a lot of my focus.
Mhm.
So I found when I'm growing in that area, that's where I get a lot of the best benefit in my life.
Yeah, fantastic. So which is your favorite Malcolm Gladwell book?
This new one I actually think is fantastic. It's called Strangers.
I haven't read that one yet, but I'm going to put it on the list straight after the call.
No, it's fascinating. It's human beings. We assume, even in this interaction, you'll have certain assumptions about me. I'll have certain assumptions. The question is, how good are your assumptions? So we all assume our assumptions are amazing. So he basically proves that our assumptions are absolutely terrible. So you got to use other means of trying to work out, is the person that you're dealing with understanding what you're saying? Are you understanding what they're saying? Are they the type of person you want to engage with, in your personal life, in business life? So it's really quite fascinating.
Awesome. And one last question, advice to people in business right now. What would you be suggesting is the main thing they should be focused on?
I don't know if I'm worthy of giving people advice. That's a very broad question.
It is.
I can give them advice in definitely in our area of business. If you're doing things, I think one of the things, a lot of people are eligible for government money, government grants, and they just always say they're too busy.
Yeah.
But once they do it and they see, well, actually this is bringing in 20, 30, 40, 50, $100,000 into my business, sometimes can be much more than that.
Yeah.
Or that is actually worth me putting 8 hours of time in. Like when just being able to see, what are you measuring? And I understand that giving up 6 to 8 hours of time is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm getting back 20, 30, 40, that is it, it depends how big your business is. Can I earn that kind of money in that amount of time, and just weighing that up, and is this a benefit or was this a waste of time?
And it is interesting that you say that, because I think time's our most valuable asset, but people are very quick to sort of say I'm too busy without evaluating how much
what they're getting out of that time. 100%.
Yeah, awesome. Evan, thanks so much for your time. Really enjoyed the conversation. Appreciate it. Awesome.
Thank you, David. All the best.